Adam and his mother waited. That's all they were doing, waiting. Waiting to hear something, waiting to hear from his father. He woke up waiting, and he went to sleep waiting, waiting. The clock ticking. Tick, 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 tick. He couldn't get that sound out of his head. He hated it. But sometimes it seemed to stop, and then he couldn't breathe. Every day now there was news, and it was never good. Every day they heard about ships destroyed, the number of the wounded, the number of the dead. The Nevada had run aground, the Utah had been sunk, the Arizona had gone down so fast the 800 or 900 men below decks were lost in an instant. The clock ticked. Every moment without word from his father was like a door closing. Adam woke up one morning knowing he was going back to base. He had heard his mother pacing the night before. He had to go back. He had to find out something. Anything. Anything would be better than this waiting and uncertainty. He left his mother a note. Gone to find out about Dad. Don't worry. I won't do anything stupid. He dressed in his blue Navy work shirt and dungarees, and he even put on the black Navy dress shoes. The cap went on his head. His lucky cap. It worked for him right away. He caught a ride downtown with a newspaper truck. At the main gate, Adam had an idea he would just walk through, that his cap and shirt would identify him. But the Marine guards were stopping anyone. ID, the guard said, holding out his hand. My father's in there, Adam said. I don't care who's in there. ID. My father's in there, Adam repeated. Please, can I go in? You got a valid ID or not? He was on the Arizona. Ah, the guard raised his hand. Listen, kid, I can't do anything for you. Lieutenant Pelko, Adam said, still hoping. Sorry, sailor, the guard said. Adam waited. The guards changed and he tried again. He hung around the gate all day, hoping he'd see someone he knew, maybe Rinaldi, or the sergeant, or even the officer from the West Virginia. A Chinese man with cameras around his neck went in and out a few times. Everyone seemed to know him. Nobody asked him for his ID. Once he stopped and took pictures of the gate and the guards. He was on a three-wheeled motorbike, wore a pith helmet. Around noon, he brought sandwiches to the guards, and he brought one over to Adam, too. Thanks, Adam said. He hadn't even known he was hungry. You waiting for someone? The man asked. I'm trying to find out about my father. He was on the Arizona. Can you get me in? The man was peering through his camera, and he looked up. I'll ask, he said. He went to the gate and talked to the guard. The guard looked over at Adam, and he shook his head. A couple of times, Adam thought of just making a dash for it. Maybe the rowboat was on the shore somewhere, waiting for him. He saw himself finding it, rowing out to the Arizona. Crazy thoughts. He tried the guard once more. Do you know the Marine sergeant who was here last Sunday? I was with him. He pointed to the sandbags and the gun near the entrance. We did that. I'm looking for that sergeant. He'll tell you I'm okay. He'll remember me. What's his last name? I don't know. He had a big voice, though, shouted a lot. The guard snorted. That describes every sergeant in the Marines. You better just stand back. It was getting dark when Adam gave up and went home. After 2 weeks, Koniko returned to work. She wore a white dress, not her kimono, but she brought flowers the same way she always did. Mrs. Pelko, I feel shamed to come. Oh no, Koniko, no. Why do you say that? Because of the Japanese attack, she said. Koniko, his mother said. We missed you. We're glad you're back. Which is your father's ship? Davy said. They were on the heights looking down at Pearl Harbor. They'd come back to get their bikes. Adam pointed. There was almost nothing left to see of the Arizona, just a little of the superstructure sticking out of the water. This was the first time Adam had seen the harbor since the day of the attack. Smoke still rose from the bay, but it was like the smoke you might see coming out of a chimney. The harbor was cold and distant and eerily quiet. We haven't heard anything from my father, Adam said, and Davy looked at him. Nothing? You don't know anything? Adam shook his head. Maybe you'll hear something soon. Maybe, Adam said, and then anger gripped him. He was angry that he had said it. He was angry because he knew it wasn't true. He had been kidding himself. He had been praying, hoping, believing, agreeing with his mother that they would still hear from his father. But he knew better. It had been too long. He had been there. He had seen the bodies floating that day. He had seen the Arizona, and he knew. Half the crew was still down there, buried, entombed, dead. He said it again to himself. dead. His father had been taken from him. He was at the bottom of the harbor in the Arizona, and it didn't make any sense. It would never make any sense.